Hello everyone, this is Will Adamer, and I'll be doing a commentary on a Demons fight that I had. It's actually a rather old fight though, it's from before Crucible, um, and I also used this fight in another video, so some of you might already be familiar with it. Anyway, I'll be talking about this fight in general, of course, but more specifically I'll be talking or spending a lot of time on the notion of initiation, and that is how you initiate a fight, and some of the things that you need to be aware of and the choices that you have to make in regards to doing this, because I think that's really something that's greatly underestimated by the majority of EVE players. Um, so I'll be talking a lot about that. Anyway, this fight happens in Ishi-Dash, which is an entry system into the Pure Blind, null security region in the north. And well, entry systems like this is always good to get a fight because they're often quite active and often camped, and that's exactly the case here. I'm going to be jumping into a small camp from Torinos, the high security system next to Easy Dash. Uh, let's talk a bit about the Deimos. I think the Deimos is generally considered to be a bad ship, and that's something I don't completely agree with. I think it has to do with it's considered to not be very versatile compared to other ships of its class, at least. And I guess that's because blasters just have a more limited role than other weapon systems. At least they used to have. I think the hybrid buff has actually changed that a bit. But anyway, I think there's a role for every ship in the game. It's just a matter of finding it, so to speak. If we take a look at the fit I'm using here, you can see that it's a dual rep fit, so it's quite tanky. It's kind of like a Myrmidon, I guess. I'm flying with the armored warfare links in this fight, and that of course makes quite a big difference. But what it does, it gives me a larger or bigger engagement range. Pretty much, I probably wouldn't have been able to take on this much that I do in this fight without them. But the fit and the ship still work without it as well. So I think one of the biggest disadvantages of a fit like this is that it doesn't have a web, which is of course quite bad for blaster ships because it's vital to keep your target close to apply your DPS. The Deimos does kind of makes up for that though, because it has a fall off bonus, so it actually does quite decent DPS as long as you're within scram range. And that's another thing about not having a web and just a scram, is that in many cases ships will be able to run away if they're going down, if they have a scram and a web, because they can hold you in place and slow boat away from you faster than you can catch up, so to speak. I think the biggest advantage, on the other hand, is that the Deimos has some very special resistance. That is, it has extremely high kinetic, especially, but also quite high thermal resists, and that really just makes it very much better with certain ships that it'll, for example, other blaster ships, and more specifically Caldari missile ships, because Caldari missile ships very often use only kinetic ammo. At least I've tried a lot of times to fly in my Tech 2 Galenda hulls, and Drakes and Tankers just keep shooting kinetic missiles at me, and it just makes a huge difference. So be sure to pick your ammo right. Another advantage, I guess, is that it's quite unexpected to have a fit like this. So, and I really like that. I often fly, unorthodox fits, I guess, because I think people tend to get caught up in standard fitting conventions, and the idea that there's only one way or one right way to fit a ship. I really just don't think that's the case, because if you fit your ships in an unorthodox way, then you really just gain a big advantage, because people will have no idea of what to expect from your ship. Anyway, as I was saying, I think there's a role for every ship in this game. It's just really a matter of finding the right engagement, and in this case, then, with a fit like this, it's about finding something that deals the right damage types, kinetic preferably, and also something that you can deal with just your scrambler. So if you can find something to fight that fits into those criteria, then you have pretty much already won half the battle, I'd say. And I think it's like that with all of EVE, actually. And really the importance of knowing what your ship can and cannot do cannot be stressed enough, I think. And yeah, as I said, with the demons not being very versatile, um, I think it all comes down to that there's not a lot of things it can do. However, I think that the things it can do very well, as I'm about to demonstrate.
And I shall do so by jumping my demons into 3 drakes, as you can see. And I've pretty much found drakes to be an ideal target for a setup like this. Well, first off, because they don't do a lot of DPS, which is always good for an active tank, and more so, they mostly do kinetic damage, which I already said it really makes a huge difference for the demons. Furthermore, they rarely have newts, which are a threat to active tanks always. So, but you almost never see a drake, especially with medium-sized newts. They also are pretty slow, so they're easy to catch for me in order to get close and do my apply my damage. And they also rarely have a scrambler, which, as I said, is a problem, because that might mean you can't hold them in place if they have both scram and a web. They do often have webs actually, but that's usually in combination with a disruptor, and then you can sort of deal with it by maintaining range with your micro warp drive. So yeah, they're pretty much ideal targets. However, in this case, it will not only be fighting drakes, because that would actually be a fairly straightforward fight, but they also have a rapier, which of course completely turns the tables here, because if I get caught by the rapier at range, from afar, so I can't get close to the rapier at all, then I will pretty much be helplessly stuck for the rest of the fight, and I'll just die. I might be able to shoot some of the drakes if they decide to go close and get tackled, but they can still pretty much just slow boat away if they get in trouble. So I must deal with the rapier before I start dealing with the drakes, pretty much. And this brings me to the notion of initiation. If it was only the drakes, I think I would have probably just approached the newest one and sort of started to brawl him down. But in this case, I just know that it simply won't work, because I've seen that they have this rapier with my alt, and I know that I'll have to initiate the fight in a way that allows me to get right on top of this rapier right away. And accomplishing this can be done in several ways. Actually, it really depends a lot upon your opponents and the mistake that they may do. One way of doing it, for example, could be to simply warp on top of the rapier if he's uncloaked and near a wreck or can, and maybe he's too slow to react and doesn't cloak or doesn't move away fast enough. Or you could also probe warp onto him, or you could try to warp to a celestial and see if he follows you and lands close by and uncloaks. Or sometimes you just get lucky and for example against the rapier that thinks it's a good idea to brawl in and engage you at close range. But really it's mostly just about being patient. If you know what you're doing, then time is really very much working in your favor, because sooner or later the opponents are going to make a mistake, and that was pretty much what I was waiting for here in this situation, as you'll see. So I've jumped in and the rapier stays cloaked, and I guess that is both an advantage and a disadvantage to me, because obviously I don't know where he is. That's a disadvantage, but it's also an advantage because it gives me a little more time to make a decision when he decloaks because of his targeting delay. So what I'm going to do is take advantage of this and quickly decloak before the rapier does it, and start to burn a bit away from these drakes, because I don't really want to get tackled by them. And then I'm pretty much just going to wait for the rapier to decloak and go after me, because I'm confident that I'll have enough time to decide by then what to do. And since this is a regional gate, there's a chance that I'm spawning either close to the rapier or also quite far away. So basically, if the rapier is within like 25 kilometers when he decloaks, then I'm pretty much just gonna burn straight for him and try to get tackled immediately, because I know there's a good chance that he won't expect this at all, because he has no reason to believe that I actually know of his presence here, so he probably won't expect me to try and go for him, also because most people wouldn't engage like 3 battle cruisers and a recon ship with the demons, so even if he does get webs on me, there's a very good chance that he just hasn't started moving away if he was that close when he decloaked. But on the other hand, if he's like further away from that, like 40 or 50 kilometers maybe, then I know if I start burning for him straight away, then he'll get webs way before I get close to him, and then he's just gonna have an easy time staying out of my range and the fight will pretty much be over by then. So in that case, if he decloaks far away from me, then I'm going to try and just burn away from him instead, and then take the fight from there. Alright, let's get this fight started. I've jumped in and I immediately decloak and start burning away from these drakes. As you can see, they all immediately aggro me, but well, they're just too slow to catch up, and I'm just waiting for the rapier to decloak pretty much and then decide what to do. There he is. He is 40 off me, but I'm not moving in the right direction really, and he's kind of too far, so I decide instead to just burn away from him. It's really often, it's a case by case thing. You have to decide yourself if you can go for a rapier in a situation like this. But well, it depends on a lot of things, like what direction you're moving and when he decloaks and what ship you're in and so on. But in this case, it just wasn't an option because he was so far. So I basically just start to burn off instead, and what I'm trying to do is make the rapier burn after me, because I know he's a lot faster than the drakes, so he can probably get in front of them, and then I would want to turn around at some point and just try to slingshot myself on top of him pretty much. That is, if he's moving towards me and I start moving towards him, then both his and my own velocity is working in my favor. But he cooks, and and the drakes also start moving back towards the gate, so I know the rapier is kind of in front of the drakes now towards me, so I walk to a record range that will put me like 30 or 40 kilometers away from the drakes, and then I basically just try to do the same thing one more time, because I know the rapier is probably closer to me than the drakes are, and that he might decloak now and try to go for me, and then I'll simply just overload towards him and try to get tackled. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because he doesn't decloak. I'm not really sure why, because I'm pretty sure that he's close enough to me to actually tackle me. Instead, there's a Tyrannus that comes in. He's also with them, and he starts burning towards me, and I pretty much don't want to get tackled by a Tyrannus at this point, because then I probably won't be able to kill him fast enough before the rapier actually comes and webs me, and again, that I just can't allow that to happen. So I warp to a bookmark that I have near the gate, so I'm still on the grid, but I get away from the Tyrannus. And at this point, I'm not really quite sure what to do, because the rapier seems to be very defensive, or not being very aggressive at least. So I try to be a bit more aggressive, and I warp right on top of these drakes here. I actually miscalculate this warping a bit, because I don't want to be landing directly on top of them. I want to have like 10 kilometers, but well, I just align out and start burning, and they don't have scramps, so I only get disrupted, so I can get some range quickly anyway. And then I just wait again for the rapier to decloak, and there he is, but he's like 100k off me now, As you can see, he actually had continued to move towards me in that other spot I was in. So right now I'm burning Wolf again, and the rapier is still kind of far away from me, but this time he's actually burning for me right away. So let's just pause the footage here and take a look at what's going on. So what's going on here is that I'm still moving away from these drakes. They're still relatively close, like 30 kilometers, but I'm just faster than them, so I keep gaining range. On the other hand, the rapier is now being a bit more aggressive and actually burning right for me. I can tell from his speed that he's now overloading his micro warp drive, and I also have a radial velocity on the overview, so I can tell that he's actually almost gaining 2 kilometers on me per second. He is, however, still about 75 kilometers away, so he's kind of behind the drakes. And my plan then is to keep moving in the direction that I'm moving, and because the rapier is so much faster than the drakes, he will eventually catch up with them and actually get in front of them, and then it's just a matter of picking the right time for me to turn around and start approaching the rapier instead. And this is of course a very risky move because I'm putting myself into the rep range of the rapier, but in the situation I'm fairly confident that it'll work, mainly because I know that the rapier won't be expecting it at all. The reason for this is that so far in this engagement I've been doing nothing really but besides just burning away, so I really don't think the rapier expects me to suddenly turn around and try to go for him. And also worth noticing is that you might have noticed that I let my armor take a lot of damage, and I've done this because when people see their target going down, they tend to get really reckless, and that's what I'm trying to do with the rapier here. I'm hoping that when he's seeing me going down, he doesn't really notice what I'm actually doing. So I'm gonna wait for the right moment, then turn around and approach the rapier. And by the time I've picked up some speed, the rapier actually only has a few seconds to realize this and change his direction, or it will be too late. And this is because when we are moving directly towards each other, then I'll just be able to close down the remaining distance extremely fast. For example, if we're both moving at 2 kilometers per second, then it's only going to take me 10 seconds to move the last 40 kilometers to get on top of the rapier. And even if I get webbed, it actually takes a lot of time for webs to slow a target down completely. So I'm fairly sure that his momentum combined with my own momentum will be enough for me to get on top of him before I'm completely slowed down. And one other thing to notice here is that I have to start approaching the rapier before he gets within rep range, because if I get webbed while I'm still burning away from him, then I will never get to turn around and build up my momentum towards him, which I really need in order to get on top of him. So well, the web range of rapiers of course differ a lot, depending whether they have faction webs or maybe skirmish links with them. I'm pretty sure this guy though didn't have either, because he didn't web me already when I jumped into the system and I was like 40k off him. So I'm assuming he has regular 10 kilometer webs, which puts his web range out at 40 to 50 kilometers. So I pretty much have to start approaching him before he gets within 50 kilometers of me. Anyway, we're reaching the point where I finally initiate this fight. As I said, it's really about being patient and waiting for your opponents to make a mistake that allows you to initiate in the way they want. And that's pretty much what I've been doing for a couple of minutes by now. Anyway, I'm burning off here, still waiting for the rapier to get within web range, almost. He's about to be now, so I turn around and start to approach him, and I pretty much just pray that he doesn't realize what's going on before it's too late for him. And as you can see, that works out pretty well. And I'm just gonna let you enjoy this little brawl by yourself. fight, so the rapier goes down, and there's not too much to say about that. I pretty much just went in there and overloaded everything. It got pretty close, but I don't think there's a whole lot I could have done differently. Maybe I shouldn't have used my newt. It didn't really serve a purpose here. But anyway, I completed what I wanted to do. That was get rid of the rapier. So now I can go on and start dealing with these drakes. I thought that I would be able to actually dictate range now, because I thought all the drakes only had disruptors, but it turns out that one of them actually had a scram, because I'm unable to use my micro-warp drive right now. And since I was disrupted by chosen drakes earlier, but not webbed, I just assumed that the drake with the web here is the one that has a scram as well. So I go for him to get rid of him. I might not be able to kill him, but I know I can force him off, and then I will once again be able to dictate range. You'll see the Tyrannus is also coming back in right now. I'll deal with him later, because I just really need to either kill or force this scram and web drake off right now. As I said, it's really hard to keep your target in place when you don't have a web in a fit like this, because they can simply just slow boat away from you if they have both a web and a scram. So yeah, I'm going for this drake, and he's going down fairly well, but he's just starting to align out now towards the sun. I can't really do much else than try to keep up with him and just try to approach. He's about to enter armor. In a second he's gonna reach the edge of my scrambler range, so I overload my warp scrambler, and then I start spamming my warp drive, because I hope that he slow boats out of his own scrambler range, so that he loses the scram on me, and I can pull my warp drive for a cycle and get closer and kill him. But I think he was using a Tech 2 scrambler, and I only had a Tech 1 one, so he actually managed to warp out in half structure and gets back to the fight later. So after the scrambling drake is gone, I turn my attention towards the Tyrannus. It's obviously a threat because it can hold me there. It's a disrupted Tyrannus, and it also dies very easily, so I try to kill it now. It was orbiting me, so I pulled some range from my warp drive, and then I scramble it. He doesn't have an afterburner, so he can't really do anything now, and I just try to maintain some range because my guns are tracking better at this range. Now he tries to get away, but I just kill him before he gets out of range again. So now it's only me and two drakes left, so I just start rolling them down. And I guess one thing I should have been doing at this point was keeping an eye on my scanner, because I was not so much afraid of people jumping into the system, because I was keeping an eye on local all the time and it didn't really move, but there might have been stuff undocking from the station, and the guys that I killed might be on the way back in bigger, more dangerous ships to me, so I should definitely have been keeping a better look on the scanner, but well, it turned out alright. One thing you'll notice I'm doing throughout this fight, pretty much, except from the part where I was killing the rapier, is that I'm bait tanking. That is, I'm keeping my armor rather low, because I'm confident that I can tank the DPS that they have, but I don't want them to leave, because I want to keep them in the fight, so I try to stay at like 20 to 30% armor as much as I can. It's a bit tricky with a ship like this because it doesn't have a lot of buffer tank, but well, it goes fairly well. The only time I really had to utilize the full potential of my tank was when I rolled in on the rapier, because it actually did quite a lot of DPS along with the drakes and all the warriors on the field. So, but yeah, if you're in an active tank ship and you're in a situation where you can comfortably tank the opponent's DPS, then it's always a good idea to bait tank like this, because it just allows you to, the opponents will think, if they think you're going down, then they're much more likely to stay around longer, and this will allow you to get more kills, of course. So, yeah, as you can see, the Drake I almost killed his back, and also a couple of more random ships shows up in grid. Another Drake and a couple of stealth bombers, and they also go for me. And I actually get a bit worried at this point because I'm running very low on cap boosters. I only have 2 left at this point, so I pretty much know that when this Drake goes down, it's time for me to get out. I could try and go for the Drake who's in low shields and doesn't have any armor or structure left, but well, there's a good chance that he's just gonna scramble and web me again and slowboard off, and I'm probably gonna die if I try it. So the second Drake's down now, so I just line out and start burning. I'm only disrupted by the last Drake, so I'm free to move in, and he just can't keep up with me. And the frigates or the other Drakes don't have any tackle on me, so I just burn off and align to a Celestial and warp off. And that pretty much ends the fight for me, with a Rapier, a Drake, a Tyrannus killed, and another Drake in structure. Alright, so just to sum a bit up on all this, I think the most important thing that I've been covering in this video is, or at least the most interesting thing is how I initiated the fight, because the fight itself was really quite straightforward, I think. But if I hadn't spent a lot of time, like I did, getting them to engage me exactly the way that I wanted them to, then I probably would have just died early on and not get any kills at all. So I cannot stress the importance of initiation enough here. As I said earlier, I think it's something that's vastly underestimated by most players. This, of course, was only an example of one time of initiation and one time of setup. If I was in another ship, it would have been an entirely different situation, and if they had other ships, it would have been an entirely different situation, of course. So, for example, if I had been in a kiting type of ship, then I could have dealt with the Rapier from range, but I would at the same time have to make sure that he didn't tackle me for long enough to all of his friends to get on top of me and kill me. So that would have been another situation. Or if it was a Falcon or Curse instead of a Rapier, of course. But it should give you a general idea of some of the things that you need to be aware of and the decisions that you make in relation to the initiation of a fight, because it's really just more than approaching your nearest enemy and start to shoot him like some people tend to think it is. So I hope this has taught you